We are back with Sell It with Belle, episode 26, I believe, if I got that correct. We are in a little different studio here. My guy Stewie did the new backdrop. He's behind the camera right now. Shout out Stewie. We actually just did our own podcast on metaverse and crypto, so go check that out. But today I'm actually here with our guest today, Jessica Ragimov. Jessica, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Good. Thanks for making it. I know the weather outside is kind of iffy.
Welcome to Canada.
Right.
4 seasons in one day.
Right. Driving on the highway here, sometimes I just feel like I need to pull over on the side and just take like 10 minutes to breathe until I can keep going.
I feel you.
But Jessica, so happy you came on. You're actually the first female in the in-person studio.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, first female in the in-person studio. When I first started the podcast virtually, I had like 6 female guests on a row. Everyone's like, why are you only interviewing females? Why are you only interviewing females? I mean, I try and switch back and forth as much as I can. It's not always possible. But yes, thank you for coming on. And you recently just got back from a trip, right?
I did. I finally traveled after, I think it's been 2 years, right?
About 2 years since COVID probably hit. Yeah.
So it was a much needed trip. I went to the States. I went to Vegas. And then after that, I went to Texas. So
what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
I'm not sharing. No.
Did you gamble? I mean,
you know what? I actually did not. I'm not much of a gambler. I love to watch people. I'll enjoy and I'll cheer them on, but no, I'm not really interested. I went there for a work convention. So it was a ReMax Convention there. We were all in person. So that was the main reason why I was there. We obviously enjoyed the nightlife, the dinners and everything. But no, it was amazing. I don't even know how many days it was. I think it might have been 5-6 days, more than enough.
So you went to Las Vegas to do more work? Not on the same scale a bit. I
mean, we weren't working. I would say it was more networking than working. I love learning. So we were sitting in so many different sessions and connecting with people from all over the world, and we've been doing it for the past 2 years over social media, Clubhouse and Instagram and Facebook. But here we were in person, sitting in these huge spaces, talking, connecting with people. So I wouldn't consider it work. I would say more play than work. But yeah, realtors, when you have a deal going on, you're going to grab your laptop and make it happen. Like my colleagues, myself, even, we were all writing offers and in phone calls, but it was a lot of relaxing too.
Right. I don't know. I feel like if I were to go to Las Vegas one day, I would almost feel like I have to at least step inside the casino and spend some money.
You have no choice. You're literally living in a casino. So I remember when I was there, when I was, I think 13, my parents wanted to go away. They didn't want to leave my brother and I at home. So, and they wanted to take us to a few shows because their shows there are phenomenal. So my brother was 2 years old. He's 2 years older than I am. So he was 15, I was 13. We went and I was like, Mom, I feel so out of place here. Our hotel was literally a casino. And I was like, are we allowed to be here? She's like, yeah, just don't touch anything. You're good. So you have no choice. If you have money there, you're going to play.
But how was the ReMax convention?
Amazing. I'm so happy I went. I was so hesitant and I was like, I don't know if I should be going. And my colleagues were like, Jess, there's no excuse. There's no reason for you not to go. And I went and it was the most incredible experience ever. I learned a lot. I met some phenomenal people. And one of the highlights was being able to see my colleagues on stage getting their awards. I was sitting there with my phone and I'm screaming. I was like, yeah. And they were like, ah. But no, it was amazing. It was really nice to be able to see everyone get their awards and see how hard they've all worked for, X amount of years. Some people have been in the industry for a very long time and people are setting crazy goals and, year after year, they're just reaching amazing heights. So that was a really beautiful part of the trip.
For sure. And how long have you actually been in the industry?
So I got licensed in 2020, end of 2020. So it's been a little over a year.
Damn. So you're still very fresh, especially in real estate where people say you need that first couple years under your belt to actually see progress.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's with anything, right? Whenever you start something new, you don't see, the progress right away and you have to put in the work in order to see the progress. So yeah, fairly new, but I've learned so much and you learn as you go through things. So the experience is the most important thing, right? You could be sitting behind a computer and learning the material and then you finish your courses and you get into the real world. You're like, did I even learn anything while I was studying? So yeah, it's been a ride, but it's been a blessed one.
For sure. And going back to that, yeah, I feel like even in real estate, when I did like the real estate program, the schooling, it's all bullshit. Like it really doesn't teach you.
You allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, of course. But I don't know. I have like a little bit of a hatred towards the education system.
Tell me more. Why?
I mean, it doesn't set you up for life. It doesn't teach you anything about it. It doesn't teach you how to do your taxes. It doesn't teach you to actually, submerge yourself in something because you're surrounded by all these different classes. It's kind of like, how can you really decide what you want to do when you're getting all these different options thrown at me?
Can I tell you something?
What?
So I was a high school teacher. But I don't take offense to what you said. I'm going to be careful about what I say. No, so full transparency, I think there is material that needs to be taught, and actually it is now being implemented into the curriculum and stuff. I have actually a good friend who, he's the one who encouraged the government to include financial literacy into the curriculum, and that's now being implemented. But one of the initiatives that I took this year, it was during Financial Literacy Month in November. For those of you that don't know, November is Financial Literacy Month, and I created something called a Financial Mastery Tour, where I took essentially all of the information that I learned and that I picked up when I was teaching, or maybe the lack of, and the things that I picked up from my clients and the questions they had, and they merged that together, and I created this financial mastery tour for the York Region District School Board, because that's the board that I grew up going to, and that's where I live, and I brought that into the schools, and essentially the goal is to be able to help teach, the youth, and they're like 13, 14, and they're like, Miss, why are you teaching us this? Like, we don't need to know these things. I'm like, yes, you do. If we're talking about money, let's talk about it in the grand scheme of things, right? What does it really mean to budget and to save money? So if you're thinking of buying a home, what does it even look like? Okay, you're not looking to buy a home right now, you're 13, but if you want to do it in 10 years, what is that going to mean? And what does that mean today? Because we know prices are going to end up going up, right? So it's been cool to bring that in. So I wish you were in high school right now, because I would be teaching it too.
Well, that would make me pro education if that was the case. Hopefully with the switch coming into the school boards. But a year in real estate, let's find out more about where you were before all this. I mean, we got the high school teacher, but even before that, where were you born and kind of how was life like coming up?
Yeah, so I was born here. I was born at Mount Sinai Hospital in Toronto. My parents both came from the former USSR, and both my brother and I were born here. I grew up in a non-affluent neighborhood, and so I saw how much my parents struggled to make sure that my brother and I were given everything, and so super thankful for them. Let's talk about high school. So my dream in high school was to always go and live abroad. So I was in a French immersion program, and I was like, oh yeah, French, amazing, France. So one of my advisors actually asked me, she goes, Jess, I know you're thinking of traveling and studying abroad. Have you considered moving to Switzerland? And I said, why Switzerland? And she's like, well, they speak in French there. And I was like, no, all I know is Paris, because that's all I really thought about. And she's like, no, you should go to Geneva, but here's the catch. And I was like, oh, what is it? She's like, they only accept one student. I was like, oh, competition? Let's do it. So I went home, started preparing my whole application, and so I ended up moving to Switzerland for 6 months. I was there when I was 20 years old. My parents were freaking out. They're like, how are you going to live by yourself? You don't know anyone there. They're like, now you have to do everything in another language. And I was like, yeah, that's the beauty of it. Like, I'm young enough to be able to do this. If I need help, I'll WhatsApp you guys. The first day I got there, I was like, why did I do this? Called my dad. I was like, Dad, pick me up. And my mom told me, she's like, when you called him, he was literally ready to come hop on a flight to come help you. But obviously it was a shock, right? I'm like walking here with 2 suitcases, don't know where I'm going, no Wi-Fi in my house. But I know that was fun. So that's what I was doing. And I was studying French out there. So I was doing a double major in criminology and French studies. What my plan was at that time, I wanted to be a criminal lawyer. So I went out there, I finished my French degree, and then I came back. And at this point, I had 2 options. I was like, so real estate was always something I loved from a young age. I didn't talk about this part. So when I was 8 years old, every Sunday, and I remember this religiously, every Sunday, my father and I would go to open houses and presentation centers. My mom was not interested. She was like, Mike, go with Jessica. I don't really care. So we would spend time together. That was our time that we would bond together, but I'd also be learning. And this was all really cool to me. We'd see new people every day. We'd see new spaces every day. And so that's kind of where I started to develop the love for real estate. And I used to tell my dad, oh, when I get older, I'll get my license. But coming from an immigrant family, indirectly, I always knew that the most important thing was for me to get a university degree. And I was actually just listening to an audiobook of the number one ReMax agent in Canada. And he was saying the same thing. Like when he started doing really well in real estate and he talked to his parents and told them he doesn't want to go to university, his parents were like, what are you talking about? So same thing. And I was like, I never want to disappoint my parents. So let me go get my degrees. So I did that. And essentially because I thought I wanted to become a criminal lawyer. When I was 20, when I came back from Switzerland, I was like, okay, so what do I do now? Do I go and get a job during the summer that'll help me get my foot in the door in this legal field, or should I get my real estate license? So I told myself, I said, okay, let me apply for this job. If I don't get it, then it's meant to be. I'll jump into real estate. And then if not, then I'll go the other path. And so I applied, I got the position, and I was working as a legal admin for 3 months for the Crown Attorney's Office downtown Toronto at the old City Hall. And I learned so much there in 3 months, more than I did in my 3 years of university. But then I realized, I was like, I don't think I want to do this. I'm more than happy to teach law, but I don't want to pursue it as a career, which is why I proceeded to get my Bachelor of Education, and I was qualified to teach French and law. And then I think the beautiful thing about life is we change and adapt every few years, right? So as I was going through the motion and going through my courses, and I was like, I love educating. And you can tell by the reels. Like, I just genuinely love it. I love to share knowledge with people. But I was like, I can't see myself doing this for the next 25 years of my life. I think I'll forever be educating, but just not in the space of a school. So, I spoke to my parents. I said, guys, I think I want to get back to what I was thinking of doing years ago. And they're like, yeah, like, we support you. Like, do whatever feels right to you. And I'm so blessed that I have parents that are like that. They're sometimes probably confused. Like, can you pick something? But I think that's the beautiful part of life is, like, you're on this journey always trying to figure out what really feels good to you and good to your soul. So here I am. The month that I graduated and got my bachelor's degree, I just went and enrolled in the courses, and I was part of the first cohort of students that did the Humber program. So we were the guinea pigs, basically. But that's where we went, and then now I'm here.
Wow, you said a lot there. I'm honestly kind of still stuck on the fact they speak French in Switzerland.
Yeah, in Geneva.
What's that all about?
Well,
that's just their language out there? Or?
They have 4 official languages. So they speak Swiss German, Romanche, which is like a very old language, French, and Italian. You speak Italian,
Did you? No.
Your family.
Did you learn any of that? Or like any of those other languages?
You know what? I didn't. However, I did travel often. And so all my professors used to ask me, they're like, Jess, why are all Canadians like this? Like, you guys always, like, I was there for school. People thought I was there for dance, but I was traveling every weekend. I'd be in class from Monday to Thursday. I'd fly out Thursday night, come back either late Sunday night or early Monday morning and head to class. So I didn't pick up any of those languages, but I did travel often. And at one point I ended up going to Portugal. I had a friend there that I met through traveling, and I picked up Portuguese a little bit because French and Spanish are very similar. So I speak Spanish as well. So I was just able to pick up the language. So
Cool. Yeah. Okay, so you got the degree that you wanted, criminology. You worked at City Hall, and then you ultimately decided to leave City Hall. Were you kind of going through some confusion at that stage of life?
I don't think it was confusion. I think it's just, okay, so you know how in school we're taught material, and then we don't really know if we actually like something until we do it, until we take action. And so that's what I found. Like, I was learning all the material. I loved it. I loved the content. But when I was actually practicing and doing the things, to me, it felt like a very repetitive work. So, and I get bored very easily. I need to be with different people, different scenarios all the time. And so I don't know, like to be honest with you, I still think about law sometimes. I love advocating for people, which is maybe one of the reasons why I love being in real estate, because you're always advocating for your clients. But I don't think it was confusion. I think it was just more the opposite of really starting to understand myself more and really coming to understand, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like.
You mentioned before that you're always like changing and adapting as you go on throughout this life, your own journey. Is it possible to fully know yourself in the moment, or are you always changing, do you think?
I think we're forever evolving. And if we're not, I think that's a problem. So like I really try not to judge people that do one thing and do it for the rest of their lives. Like when I look at my parents, for example, that's what was a norm to them, right? Like my mom's a nurse, so she went to school, she became a nurse, and she's been doing that forever, right? But then I have, for example, like friends who are also nurses, but they're also dabbling into other parts of nursing. So it's not the typical nurse in a hospital that you see, right? So I think it's important to be able to evolve and to try new things, because then we get to understand ourselves better.
For sure. I totally agree with that statement. So you leave City Hall. You ended up being a high school teacher. Let's get into that. So did you ultimately have to go back to teachers college to be able to?
Yeah. So my first degree was a Bachelor of Arts, and then I did a Bachelor of Education. And so you have an option either to do consecutive or concurrent. Consecutive was what I had done. I did my first degree, and now with the credentials that I had there, I could apply that, and those would be used as my teachable subjects. So my French became my French teachable subject. My criminology became law. But when I started teaching, I did not teach law. I taught geography and history in French.
Interesting. Geography and history in French.
Yeah.
I mean, people already dread French class. Now you have to learn about geography and history in French.
But they're French immersion kids. They're used to it, right?
Okay,
that's all
fair.
they know. They've been in French immersion like since the first grade. So it was actually quite neat. And I actually started to appreciate history and geography a lot more as I was teaching it, because I found like when I was in high school, I hated it. But, I think as I got older, I started to appreciate it a lot more. And when I was living in Switzerland, my roommate, Julien, if you're watching this, what's up? He knew everything about history, and like we would sit in the mornings, we would have coffee or tea together, and he would just like go on and share all these things. And I was like, you know so much about the world. Like I find that really amazing.
So do you think he impacted you in a way moving forward?
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God. I'm so blessed. I had such amazing roommates, and once again, like we meet people, we have new experiences, and that opens our eyes up to so many more things, right? So yeah, for sure, most definitely.
It's totally crazy how meeting one person can kind of like change your whole route of life. I mean, you just have to go out there and be willing to make those relationships, and just that one person could introduce you to so much more than what you didn't even see before. Yeah.
So I have I have a story to share. If my parents watch this, they already know the story. So I'm all for meeting new people and being spontaneous. However, you need to trust your intuition. And my intuition is like one of my strongest faculties. Like if I feel something, I feel it. I know if it's right or wrong. So back in 2012, I was at Digital Dreams. Have you been before?
What is Digital Dreams?
Digital Dreams. It's like an outdoor rave, basically. Okay. And
party girl.
Back in the day, yeah. So I love dancing. That's like my passion, my hobby. So I used to go with my best friend. We used to always go to dance, and it was such a good time. And I had seen one of the photographers there. I was like, oh, this photographer looks super cool. A few months later, I added him on Facebook. I was like, oh, like I told my friend, I was like, this is the guy we saw there. I didn't know him though, but I used to add everyone on Facebook. And months later, I get a message from him. It was October. He's like, hey, Jess. It's like, hey, he's like, we haven't met before. I just wanted to connect. I said, oh, hey, cool, no problem. Like, I'm cool with that because I added him. So he's like, so quick question for you. I have a black magic camera. Stewie, I don't know if you know what this is, but I don't know what it was. He's like, I have a black magic camera, and I was wondering if you want to shoot a short film. And I read that. I was like, okay, this sounds like a porno. And I was like, tell me more, ... And he's like, hey, so like, I create short films, and I have this super cool camera. My friend and I are looking to shoot with someone. Like, can I just call you and tell you like the storyline? And I was like, and I was really like trying to avoid it. And he was super persistent. And like, I can appreciate that because sometimes things won't get done. And I said, sure, here's my number. So I give him my number. He calls me. He runs me through it. Okay, it wasn't as creepy as it initially sounded. And he's like, I'm willing to meet wherever like it works for you. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm down. So told my parents I'm going to the movies. But we went to Fairview. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I really took a chance on meeting this person because intuitively it felt right. He wasn't random. He was a friend of a friend. So I was like, okay, this feels kind of normal. And still to this day, fast forward, it's been 10 years. We're still great friends. And he impacted my life so much. Such a beautiful, beautiful human being. His name is Jordan Oram, and he's taken it very, very far with his craft. And he taught me the importance of discipline and really honing in on your craft and really spending time on what it is that you love to do. And he actually like shoots Drake's music videos, and he's done a lot of like films and stuff. So from that came so much. And had I not gave him my phone number to call me to tell me about his storyline, I wouldn't have experienced the things that I did with him and like deep conversations and stuff about life and spirituality. So yeah, super cool.
Wow, that's a crazy story. Shout out Jordan.
I know, right?
If a guy asks you to do content with a black magic camera, that's your sign to definitely say yes.
Apparently so.
I'm going to have to look up what a black magic camera is right after this.
I still don't know what it is, but I'll send you the link on YouTube afterwards of the clip. So yeah, it was fun times.
Perfect. Okay, so ultimately leaving the teaching business and getting into real estate, how long did you stay in the teaching business? And then what made you leave and take on the entrepreneurial route of real estate?
Yeah, so September was when I started supply teaching.
Last September.
I can't even remember anymore. Like COVID times, I can't remember. I think it was September 2019. But I didn't take on like a position or anything. It was just supply teaching. And I actually started my first real estate course then. So I was kind of out before even fully getting in. And I think I was being really true to myself because when you have French, it's easier to get a position. And I was like, yeah, I can do this, but I also want to make it fair to my students. Like I want to make sure I'm giving my 100%. So I was like, I don't want to do it long term. So, but I would say that like in real estate, I think you're a forever teacher. You're always educating your clients, your community. So still educating and teaching, just not in a school.
For sure. I mean, you're new in the business, but from what I've seen on social media, at least, you're all about education. You're posting reels, always marketing yourself to your potential clients, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like you kind of got that right off the bat while other realtors may be still struggling in the social media game. Why was that kind of important that you transitioned and utilized social media?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the way I've met a lot of people is through social media. So I find a lot of value in that, right? And like I told you, I used to add random people on Facebook. So should probably clear that list. But right now we live in a day where, I mean, through COVID, we weren't meeting people. So how else would we meet people online, right? And I think the beauty is we can meet people from all over the world. So being able to provide the value to people for me is very important. I'm drawn to pages where I can hear and see people speak. I'm not drawn to just pictures, right? So I like to provide that on the other side as well because I want people to hear what I sound like, what I have to share, and then you choose at that point whether you want to follow me or not. Funny enough, a few days ago, when I was in Texas, I made an Instagram story because I'm trying to see what kind of content my community wants to see, and I wrote, the question that I posed was, why do you follow me on Instagram? And I did several different categories, like my personal shares, is it my reels? And the reels were the ones that came out on top of everything. So funny enough, I was very hesitant to start those reels. So I was like, I don't want to listen to myself on video. I'm sure you agree, Abby, you listen to yourself before, you're like, what the heck? I sound like this. So I'm happy that I did, and I'm able to provide some information to people. And it's just a new way of presenting information. Oftentimes we're presenting it by just writing on our stories, and we're still presenting information. We're just presenting it in another way. So yeah.
You got into real estate at a very weird time. Well, maybe a lot of people were scared of the real estate market, but it actually turned out to be a very positive for realtors, at least in the beginning. You know, houses were going up like crazy. How did that kind of impact you? Did you feel like there was big opportunity when you got into real estate?
I think big opportunity to learn, because there was so much activity, and a big opportunity, obviously, to help people out, right? So luckily, I work with someone, my team lead, who does a lot of business, is always busy. And like I told you before, the more you do, the faster you learn, right? So I've had a lot of my mentors tell me it's not the number of years you've had in the business, it's the number of experiences and transactions that you've done. So yeah, I definitely think, like, sometimes I think about it, I was like, oh my God, I entered in the craziest time, because it's tough. It really is tough on both sides, right? And when you're working with buyers, like, you see your clients, they're putting in whatever they can go in, their top, right? I mean, I wish we all had millions and millions of dollars, but they're missing out on 2, 3, 4, 5 offers, right? And people get buyer's fatigue. And you as the agent, like, you have to keep yourself motivated. And you also have to keep your clients motivated, right? So I think with every struggle, there's also a lot of strength and positivity that comes out of that. And I think the more challenges we face, the faster we learn and the more we can implement into our future practice.
For sure, especially being a real estate agent with in terms of self-motivation. I mean, no one's really there to like guide you in the beginning once you get your license. I mean, it's pretty much up to you to maybe find a mentor or get the education yourself and actually succeed in the business. You know, obviously the dropout rate in real estate is so high. I mean, what were you kind of doing to make sure you weren't a part of that dropout rate? Was there anything motivating you? Any stuff that maybe you really want to prove to yourself?
I think there's a lot of things. I'm super driven and really resilient. Like, if someone tells me no, I'm going to show them why yes, you know? And it's an everyday thing you have to work on. Like, if I told you all days were high and I was happy all the time, I'd be lying to you, right? So I think it's just a reminder of the reason why you're doing it. And I had made a post about this on Instagram a few months ago. And my why is my family. And essentially, like, I think sometimes we have to sacrifice certain things in order to have like the long-term goal and whatever it is. And my parents and family have done so much for my brother and I to have the life we did. I didn't know how much my parents struggled when we were younger. Like, I had no idea until a few months ago. My grandmother and I were sitting outside in my backyard. She told me, like, they had to move from Russia to go to Italy before they came here. And I didn't know these details, but my grandma told me, she's like, we were so poor and like, we don't know what to do. We were like literally cleaning random spaces, like whatever we had. And I was like, holy crap, like, I didn't know this. And I didn't see the struggle because our parents tried to give us everything, right? So a few years ago, my brother was listening to an Audible by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And like, I really look up to my brother. So everything my brother does, I just copy. And he steps out of the shower. I was like, hey, John, like, what are you listening to? And he's like, you have to listen to this. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I downloaded it. And I started listening to it. And I was like, wow, like, there is so much to the world that we don't know. And I said to him, we need to take what mom and dad have given us and we need to take it one step further, because if we don't, what have we really contributed to the family and to the world, right? So I think my why is what drives me, and I have a really good circle of people around me, like really, and I'm so blessed. I have so many great mentors that check in on me, are there to hold my hand when like I have questions, and I have questions and I'll ask them, you know? And my mom always told me, like, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So ask the questions. Don't think they're stupid questions. And so I do that, and I have people around me all the time that are there to help me. So it's just knowing, and it's just reminding yourself that with any new thing that you do, there will be struggle. And if there's not, then like, I feel like you're doing something wrong. And I've been doing a lot of self-development work this year. And it was just kind of like going hand in hand, right? I remember at one point, it was last March, I found like my schedule completely shifted, because I used to run on a schedule from 10 to 11, from 11:05 to 12:05, like very, very, very strict and regimented. And I found with real estate, I was like all over the place. You want to go see a place tonight at 9 p.m.? Yeah, sure, no problem, you know? And so I found that like I was losing a sense of myself and my hobbies. And so like I was just thinking, and I was like, I need to find something that gets me back into like the flow of things. And three times on separate occasions, I heard about something called the wake-up call. And so my one friend told me about it, a second, a third, and they all kept telling me, yeah, but like we wake up at 5 a.m. and we read books. And I was like, 5? That's really early. Like 7 I could do. And then I was like, you know what? If I heard it 3 times, third time's a charm. Let me jump on this. So I joined April 7th, and I remember the day because this has really changed my life. And that's just helped me stay on track. You know, I wake up. There's a reason why I'm waking up. I'm doing something that's good for my mind, for my body, and starting my day off on the right note.
Every day you start off reading?
Monday to Friday. Yeah.
I feel like whenever I read, I try and read as much as I can. I do a book and then I maybe go back in another month or two and do another book. And it feels whenever I read and then go on with my day, it just feels like all that information I read in the previously in the day is getting like soaked into my mind. I'm not sure if like other people feel that, but I'll be at the gym and I'm like, oh my God, like it's all making sense now.
It makes sense now. I get it. Yeah. I think so too.
I really like how you brought up your why and actually shared a part of your why. I know a lot of multiple things can form a why, but a lot of things people struggle with, especially younger people in high school, like you're familiar with, they struggle to actually just find the reasons that, you know, help them wake up and get motivated and find their goals. I mean, how long did it take you to find your why? And do you have any advice to someone maybe that is looking to find their passion and what drives them?
I think the why is going to change over time. I think there's a larger one that really resonates with all of us, but I think we really just have to figure out what we want for ourselves in our lives, right? And for everyone is different. For some people, it's have a family and have kids. For other people, it's serve as much as I can in whichever way, shape, or form that is, right? So it's really sitting down with yourself, getting a notebook and writing it out and figuring it out, because no one's going to figure it out for you. And at the end of the day, you just have yourself to do that, right? And so I think the reason why a lot of maybe teens, because I was in the same position too, don't really know what their why is or don't know what they're passionate about, is because they spend so much of their time in school and they put a lot of emphasis on that, right? And I find there to be so much value in having passions and hobbies, because you really get to learn who you are, what you like and what you don't like. Right? So I always encourage anyone, my cousins are much younger than I am. And I always tell them, I said, guys, school is really important and you have to pay attention, but also make sure you make time for yourself when you're done your homework. Like, okay, you did 3 hours of homework. Now go do something that makes you really happy. If you like theater, do something that involves you singing or dancing or whatever it is, right? So I think at the end of the day, we have to take the responsibility to do that for ourselves. And some people I know don't have passions, but those can develop over time. I started singing during COVID. I cannot sing and I will never sing. But I was like, oh, let me just try this. Like, if this is something new, maybe I will like it, maybe I won't. So, yeah,
definitely there's a power in just trying different things. I mean, do you feel like kids may lack actually going out and trying different things because we're like stuck on social media, stuck on our phones, and maybe in like a fake world that's really not helping us self-develop in our own way?
I think a little bit. Yeah. I definitely think so. And I think that's why we have to, like, it's in our own hands essentially, right? And some days I actually delete Instagram off my phone because I see myself getting sucked into it too. And the days that I'm not on it, I feel great. So once again, we need to have balance, right? And so I remember when I was younger, like we would be in every possible extracurricular activity, tennis, dance, this, that, like there was some math on Sundays, like, oh, I hated that, but it was great. You know what I mean? We got to learn something and be with different people. So I think there's a lot of busy things happening right now, and we want everything quickly now, and we want the instant gratification, and our phones are literally at our fingertips. So I definitely think that could be a reason why some people just like are kind of lost.
In terms of instant gratification, real estate is definitely a place where it's not instant gratification. I mean, you have to work for really what you get. I mean, how are you finding that? How's your entrepreneurial endeavor in real estate been going so far? I mean, are you trying to really leverage stuff like social media and stuff to help you expedite your business? Yeah.
So I actually, ever since I came back from Vegas, I'm like, okay, I need to reevaluate. And I like to kind of check in with myself. What have I been doing that's good? Where have I been slacking? And I have been slacking and I could be doing much better, but this is what we need to be doing, right? We need to reassess and see. So back to your question about instant gratification. Yeah, you're right. We don't get gratification right away if you're talking about the monetary gain, but there is gratification in other ways, right? And so once again, it just depends on the individual. I get really happy when I know I got off a call with someone and they were able to take something away from the call. And now that helps them make another decision, or that encourages them to sign up for a course, or that encourages them to have a conversation with their parents, right? So that for me makes me really happy. But it's really just assessing often, seeing what works, what doesn't work, and if you really want it, you have to move forward with it. So came back from Vegas a few days ago and I went door knocking yesterday. For some reason, I thought it was warm outside and like I was door knocking. My eyes are like running, but like you have to do it. Like you have to do what it takes. Right. And certain individuals have made it really, really far in this industry because of the consistency and the work that they do. And really it's because I'm working on this myself. I'm not perfect. It's the mindset around the tasks that you have to do. Right? So you have to do the things that people don't want to do. So my thing for this year, because in my first year, my theme was knowledge. Learn as much as you can, because clearly you're in a new field. You're learning how to run a business, one. You're learning how to sell. You're learning how to market. You're learning how to do so many things, right? So I was like, let me just learn as much as I can. Now, as I'm coming into my second year, my theme now is really taking action and stop feeding myself BS and feeling bad for myself that it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. Anything is hard. Learning a new language is hard. I speak 4 languages, but I did it, right?
Learning to sing is also hard.
Yes. Oh my God. When my family used to ask me for these videos, I was like, guys, don't do this. Please, please, please. So, yeah.
Wow. I mean, do you have any, maybe we could start wrapping this up with like a crazy story. I mean, I've interviewed a couple other women, realtors like yourself. I mean, I feel like women are maybe at a slight disadvantage when it comes to real estate, but maybe a business in general. Do you have any stories where you may have felt like you were downplayed as a woman or anything of that nature?
To be honest with you, no.
That's good.
Maybe it's because of my circle and like the people that I work with and stuff. So, but crazy stories, I'm thinking.
Like you didn't just knock on someone's door one time and they went off on you, or...
Oh yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
But you kind of just become like immune to it. You're like, okay, I'm sorry that you're mad. Okay, that's it. But I just smile at people. And if you just make them laugh, like really people just want to laugh at the end of the day. So I'll just like say something funny. I'm like, oh, you know, haha, whatever. And then we'll laugh about it and just call it a day. Really, it's your delivery as well. It's the way you present yourself. So if you're standing there like, and your body's all like, and you're scared and like the people sense that off of you, right? And I went to the ReMax Convention and the number 2 agent in ReMax in the US, he essentially had said like the way he presents himself and what he says. And I've been trying to implement that as well. And it's very like, hey, you know, I'm just in the neighborhood, just want to introduce myself. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Like really at the end of the day, you're just here to speak to people. And if they need help, then they can reach out to you, right? So crazy stories. No, I really have. And I've had some friends tell me some pretty crazy stories, but I have not experienced that yet. I hope I won't.
Well, like you said, people just want to laugh. I mean, you came into the room today, your energy was good, you were vibey, you made us smile. I mean, if you're doing that at the door, I mean...
Yeah, when it's warm out, it's for sure happening. But when you're cold, but yeah, really, at the end of the day, I think it's energy that you put out into the space, and you'll get that in return. But like I said, all days are not high. Some days are low, and you just have to pick yourself back up because each day is a new day. So
I like that. I think we'll end it off on that. I mean, that's a perfect quote to segue out of this. Yeah. Episode 26. Jessica, so nice to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, wrap up. Tune in for the next episode, and I'll see you guys.
Perfect. Thanks so much.